Welcome to Season 2 of Digging Deeper Ag Chats with Al, the podcast that brings you timely and practical stories straight from the paddock. From sowing to shearing, fire to flood, and everything in between. We're here when it matters most. Each episode taps into real experiences, expert voices, and grounded advice that helps you stay ahead on farm. I'm Alistair from the Gippsland Ag Group, a grassroots, farmer-led network in Gippsland, focusing on soil, grain and fodder, pasture and livestock. We're here to support producers in building resilient and profitable enterprises across our region. So let's dig in. Welcome to Digging Deeper. We've got Olivia Betts in the studio from Elders Bairnsdale. How are you, Olivia?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Al?
Not too bad. Now, you just mentioned you're a little bit nervous actually stepping into the seat or sitting in the seat for Morgan Davies this week.
Yeah, a little bit. His big shoes to fill, as he would tell you all.
He would, and I'm sure we'll hear a review next time he's in. So, now a little bit of background about you, Olivia. People may or may not know you. You're a local girl, and I'm going to sound very old right now, but I actually taught you when you were in Year 9 for maths, didn't I?
Yeah, got my first ever detention.
Oh, I gave it to you.
Yeah. So, yeah, back in Year 9, probably the first and only one. So, thanks, Al.
No worries. What were you doing? Turn up to class late or something?
Yeah, about a minute late.
There you go. Got strict rules, I do.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't actually last the whole year in my class, so it must have really affected you. You left halfway through, didn't you?
Yeah, moved schools.
Yeah. I thought you were a good student anyway. I didn't realise there was a detention involved. But
yeah.
Who is Olivia Betts? And just tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, so I've grown up in Bensdale. I come off a small beef farm just outside of town. I have been involved in ag from a young age and eventually decided that was the career path I wanted to take. So been in this role for 3 years now and continuing on that journey and really enjoying it.
Yep. So you did say then that you just grew up on a beef property just outside of Bensdale, Clifton Creek. How did that shape your interest in ag from an early age?
I think I've always been interested in it because I would go out to the farm when I was younger with my nan and pop all the time before I started school, and hay carting growing up as a kid as well, so always interested in how it was all working, and eventually it moved into how do we do this better and how do we make it more productive and profitable.
Now, is this your pop who's affectionately known around town as Mo, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so locals that are listening, Mo is actually Olivia's grandfather. He does a bit of fencing around the area still.
Yeah, he still does a bit. And when I was at uni, I would help him out part-time while I was studying. So, yeah, he's a good boss, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're obviously not a fencing contractor, so it mustn't have been that good though.
Yeah, no, decided to take another pathway.
Yeah, good. And so what did actually lead you, or what was your path straight out of school? Did you finish Year 12 and off to uni or have a gap year?
I took a gap year first. I worked at the secondary college for a year as a sport and outdoor ed assistant, and I looked at doing teaching after that as well, but decided to follow my passion of agriculture. I went to uni and studied ag science and commerce, majoring in accounting there, and did 4 years of that, and then eventually come into this role after I made a decision about whether I'd take the accounting path or the agriculture path.
Yep, rightio. So let's talk about straight after uni then. How did your journey pan out straight out of uni? Did you come straight back here or off somewhere else first? Yeah,
I come straight back here. I was doing uni mainly online, so...
Were you a COVID student?
Yeah,
really?
COVID student. So I did a little bit of work placement with Elders during that time, and I fell into a job with Elders the January after I graduated, so straight into work.
Rightio. So how old are you now?
26.
26. Now, how long have you been at Elders for?
3 years.
Was Noel and Hugh still there, or?
Yeah, they were both still there when I started, and now it's just me.
Right. I was just thinking, how did you go from fairly fresh out of uni to all of a sudden being the big boss of the agronomy side?
Yeah, it's had its challenges, but I think you've got to either sink or swim. Yeah. And I think I'm swimming. So, we had Hugh leave first, which I guess was a little bit of a stepping stone because I'd spent a year with him doing our agronomy together. So he left and I still had support in Noel for a year, and then Noel has now left as well. But I think we've, slowly transitioned into that. I've still got Noel as a contact as he's still working within Elders, so that's really good. But yeah, I think there's nothing better than having that experience and just getting out there and just doing it. I mightn't have all the answers straight away, but I'll make sure that I get back to the office and do the research and get back to people when I can.
So do you have some mentors outside of Noel that you sort of call on?
Yeah. So our Mafra branch, they have 3 agronomists that I bounce off. And then we've also got our Pakenham branch too. And being part of Elders is amazing because you've also got people nationwide that you can lean on. It's changes area to area, but a lot of the time, if you've got a question, someone's experienced it before, and that's the best thing about working at Elders.
Now, Colin Lane's back in Bensdale. Is he actually a trained agronomist or not?
I know you'd have to ask him that one. Top secret.
Top secret. Oh, right, because I always thought he was, but maybe he just tells me he is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, under the covers, that one.
Right. All right, no worries. Well, we'll move on. It's obviously something going on there that I don't know about. But so tell me what a typical day or your week looks like at Elders.
So most weeks I'll start the morning off in the office, going through emails and doing my admin side of things, and then I head out into the veggie fields to scout for pests, do sap and soil tests for nutrition, and go and do my scout reports for the week. Do that kind of 2 to 3 days a week with the different guys. I actually travel up to Orbost 1 day a week and have been roped into playing netball up there as well as coaching now.
Coaching as well this year?
Yeah. So I'm up there 1 day a week getting around the dairy and beef guys up that way. So that's really good. And then, usually another day in pastures around the East Gippsland region as well.
You said you're going out to veggie properties. There must be a fair bit of stress involved in certain aspects of your job when you're dealing with such high value crops, is there?
Yeah, there is, but I guess once you get used to it, it makes it a bit easier. To be honest, at the start of working here, I hated working in the veggies because I didn't know a lot about how it all worked, and I hate not knowing things. But over time, I've got the knowledge and experience, so it's become a bit easier to deal with, but it's definitely a lot more fast-paced compared to pastures.
As in just things move quicker?
Yeah, your crops move quicker. You need to make those decisions quicker. You don't have as big of a window to make a decision if you're going to spray or not. Yeah.
Now, have you got a story where there was a story in the last couple of years?
No. I've got a couple.
Yeah. Any that you're prepared to share?
Yeah, I've got one, which Laney loves this one. So when he first moved back here the start of this year, Laney also does real estate, and he wanted to get some drone footage of this property that he was going to put up for sale. Anyway, we've gone out there, met the vendor, gone one loop of this paddock, taken a video. Yep, that looks good. Send it back up again, bring it back in to land, and the wind picks up and starts blowing it towards the group of trees in the paddock. So I'm trying to move the drone away, doesn't move away, gets stuck right in the crown of the tree. We used fishing rods trying to hook it out, and eventually the farmer had to go back to his place and get his tractor and shake it till it fell out. So I won't let that one down, I don't think.
You wrecked the drone, did you? Or is it all right?
No, it's all right. It's still flying around today, but Maddie's taken over that job from me now.
Yeah, right, off the controls.
Yeah.
You're one of the younger agronomists in the area, and you're also a female in that industry. Have you found any challenges because of who you are?
No, I haven't. I know that it's often a topic that's brought up a lot around here, but all the clients I deal with, I've never had a problem with them. I think as long as you're open and honest about your knowledge and not trying to pretend you know something when you don't. I think that's the key to it.
Yep. You got 3 brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're the eldest of 3 brothers, so you've probably learned to deal with boys for a long time now. So
Yeah, definitely.
now, you mentioned you're passionate about getting younger local people involved in ag. What's some things that can make that happen in your mind?
I think probably going to the schools a bit more, and we've got the AgTech Agritech
Expo, yeah.
Expo.
Yep.
Now, I just think we just need a bit more exposure to kids in school to all the opportunities there are in ag. I feel historically ag's been looked at your last resort for a job, which it shouldn't be. Like, there's so many aspects of ag and so many different ranges of skills that you can have utilised by agriculture. I think people need to realise that it can be a stepping stone to a career. It's not just a job.
I think the other thing that a lot of young people don't realise, or probably just people in our community, is that when you say that you're involved in agriculture, they think you grow sheep or beef.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all it is, and fix fences type
Yeah.
of thing. But the number of jobs around big operations especially is quite varied now. So
Yeah, definitely.
all right, well, let's get into one of the main reasons why you're here, and it's to do with armyworm. So there's been a few armyworm about. You've been out on properties diagnosing out there. So firstly, what is armyworm and why is it such an issue for Gippsland producers?
Yeah, so to start off with, I'll just say the armyworm we're talking about is native armyworm. There's also another pest called fall armyworm, which is a priority pest, I guess, in horticulture, but it's not as much of a problem for pasture in our area anyway. So native armyworm refers to 3 different species, which is common, southern and inland armyworm. They've hatched lately in our area and are now starting to cause havoc in a few crops. So we've got some people growing hay or trying to get their cereal crops off for grain, and they're lopping off the seed heads, or in establishing pastures, they're eating the seedlings as they come up out of the ground.
Right, so there's a couple of things in there I want to unpack, but
Yeah.
firstly, what are we going to talk later on about some of the difference between fall armyworm and common, or do you want to talk about that now?
We can talk about that now.
Rightio.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, fall armyworm is a far more serious problem. Is that correct?
Yeah, from what I've seen of fall armyworm, it's a lot bigger problem. It can devastate a crop overnight. However, we don't get that level of impact in our area as of yet because we don't get the numbers of fall armyworm here at key times in our crops to cause those problems.
Right, so that's more northern Australia. You get the fall armyworm, is it?
Yeah, so they're predominantly in Queensland and move their way south through our warmer months, and then once it cools down again, they go back up to Queensland. So they're a massive problem in Queensland where they're having to spray maize and sweet corn crops pretty much before they're out of the ground because they cause so many problems. But a lot of the time we don't see any numbers that we're spraying for until around February, and most of the time it's only in the veggie crops, which we've already got sprays that we're using for other pests that cover it.
Right, and so to look at the 2 varieties, well, the 3 native ones and the fall, are they quite different to look at, or are they similar in appearance?
Yeah, they're quite different to look at. So the 3 native ones, they all look similar to the point that it's very hard to tell the difference between the 3 out in the paddock.
So is there a need to ID them between the 3, or is it?
There's not really a need to ID between the 3 because they all do the same sort of damage, and the control methods are the same if you do decide to control them.
Right, so you did mention some of the damage they do, but what crops and pastures are most at risk And how do we identify if it is armyworm as opposed to some other critter?
Yeah, so pretty much they're going to target any green material, but the crops I'd say are most at risk at the moment are your crops that you're establishing, like millet, sorghums and maize, because they're at that vulnerable stage. You're still going to have some problems in your hay crops, but most of the time you'll be taking them off shortly, so there's not a whole lot of need to take control of it if you're going to cut the paddock the next week.
Yep. So does that clean them up as well because you're taking away a food source, or does that just reduce the damage?
It does. It probably no need to spray that paddock, but they're called armyworm because they march.
Oh, they'll move to next
So
door.
yeah, once you take that crop off, if it's next to a paddock with fresh green growth, they're probably going to march onto that next paddock. So probably being wary of where their next feed source might be.
These guys can actually move some distances. How far can these little guys go in a day?
Yeah, they can, but I'm not 100% sure on that question.
That's all right. I'll get my kids to look it up tonight, see how far they can move. But that's interesting. Now, you said sprays there. Is there many spray options, or is there just the one that cleans them up? And how harsh are they on other sort of desirable bugs in the system?
Yeah, so the options that I've found for pastures, there's only a couple, and they're broad spectrum insecticides, so they're going to take out pretty much anything that you've got in your pasture. Yeah, not safe on your beneficials, so that's another thing you need to look at as well when deciding whether to spray or not.
Yeah. Now, how do we actually find these, apart from the damage they're doing? Is it out at night with a torch or something like that?
Yeah, so they do say the best time is probably around dusk, because that's when it starts cooling down and they become more active. So dusk, or if you do want to wait around for it to get dark enough, which is late at the moment, then you can go out with the torch, look at areas where there's seed heads, because they're probably climbing up and down that seed head. And if you're looking for them during the day, if you've got a pasture that's already established, look down at the base of the plant and you might see them curled up at the base.
Right. Now, can we spot these during autumn and winter, or are they only active and visible in summertime?
They can be around in autumn and winter, but I believe what we're seeing at the moment is common armyworm, and they mainly fly down here from the north in these warmer months for spring, and then once they pupate and become a moth, they go back north again. The southern and inland, they can be a problem in autumn, but I haven't heard much information about them being a problem in autumn around here.
Right. Now, you mentioned this off air about simple thresholds or rules of thumb for when it's worth treating versus leaving them.
Yeah.
And you said it's actually quite a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
Have a go the best you can. When do we decide to spray, or when can we just tough it out and wait for weather to change or to cut for hay, for instance?
Yeah. So I'd say, it's a case-by-case basis, but if you've got an establishing pasture and the seedlings are getting taken out, then you need to be making a decision, because that's going to be your growth for summer. So from some of the information I found, if you're finding more than 10 per square metre, roughly, in an establishing pasture, then I would be looking at controlling it or trying to seek some information from your local agronomist on if they reckon it's worth it or not. It also depends on the stage of the grubs you're finding. If you're only finding very small grubs and they're doing a lot of damage already, they're only going to get bigger and cause more damage over time. So you're best knocking them out then. But if you're finding bigger grubs, then they're probably nearly at the end of their life cycle and going to become moths soon anyway.
We've obviously had a good rains late in spring. Does that contribute to the problem, or?
So from the research that I've done, the numbers that we're seeing is actually, well, can be due to drought, which even though we haven't necessarily experienced drought here, but there has been drought in other regions that are relatively close by. So it pretty much means that the predators for these grubs are in lower numbers and aren't out there to help control them.
Right. What are the predators?
Parasitic wasps and bees.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're a couple of the predators. Well, it's a different type of predator, but there's also birds out there. So that's probably another thing to think of, is if you're seeing a lot of bird action out in your paddocks, maybe have a closer look, because they're probably in there picking them off.
Yeah, right. Now, with the insecticides that you said, is there a resistance issue that's cropping up anywhere, or are we pretty safe on that front at the minute?
So I haven't found anything saying that there is a resistance issue with armyworm, but I was speaking to a grower the other day who believes that there is some resistance to synthetic pyrethroids, which are the control options that we have available to us. So pretty much to avoid adding to that is making sure you're targeting pests at the right size and using the right rates.
The more podcasts I do, the more complicated this farming game gets sometimes. So
yeah, I often say the more you know, the more you find out you need to know.
yeah, and the more worry sometimes you have, because you know what can happen. Now, as far as perennial pasture goes, how much effect is it having on perennial rather than just spring and summer crops are the ones that most get hammered?
Yeah, you can definitely have the numbers at levels where it is doing damage to your pasture, but perennials are a bit more resilient to that pressure. A lot of them are probably, depending on what rainfall you've had, a lot of them are probably nearly drying out now, so you're probably not at that peak growth period. So again, it's not a simple answer, but you would have a greater threshold on those perennial pastures compared to your annuals that are establishing.
Earlier on you said there is a difference between the fall armyworm and the common armyworm. Yep. Off the top of your head, what are the main differences that we'll be looking for if we suspected something?
Yeah, so firstly it's the damage. So the common armyworm, they scallop the side of the leaves, so you'll see little curves on the side of the leaves, whereas fall armyworm have call a windowing effect, so they'll eat the leaf and leave a bit of a window in that leaf. And
that's sort of that transparent membrane almost.
Yeah. So, and you'll see a lot more hot spots as well if a fall armyworm outbreak occurs, because there's a lot of eggs that get laid in the one place. They'll kind of balloon out in that one area on webs that the wind takes them out on. And fall armyworm also look different to common armyworm, which we actually haven't touched on the identification. But common armyworm and any of the native armyworms, they've got 3 white cream stripes that run from the back of their head down to their tail, whereas fall armyworm, they're probably similar in shape, but they have 4 distinct dots on the back end of them, and then they have a really prominent Y shape on their head.
Those dots like a clear white colour, like their stripes or not?
The stripes on the common armyworm are, quite white, or if not cream, but they're easy enough to identify.
And what colour are the dots on the fall armyworm?
Black.
Oh, black dots, sorry. The Y, what colour is the Y on the fall armyworm?
So the Y is a white cream colour.
Yeah, and black dots on the 3 black dots on the back end.
4 black dots on the back
4
end.
black dots.
Yeah, in a square shape.
Yep, I'll have to get Google ID out if I go out in the paddock. I think I have no idea. So, but you said it's fairly obvious once you do see it. To notice it.
Once you do see it, because I mainly look for them in corn crops, and there's those in Heliothis, and all season you'll be looking at Heliothis thinking, oh, is that a fall armyworm? And when you find it, you just know that that's what you're looking at.
Yep. And you haven't spotted any yet, you said?
None this season. A lot of the time we don't see it come into our area until probably mid-January through to February. February is probably the peak of the populations coming through then.
Yep. Now, if I did find some on my property, should I be letting anyone know as a courtesy to someone? Is it you share this information with each other, do you?
Yeah, so if you do find them, happy for you to let me know. We actually work in with AgVic on identification and hotspots. So I believe that there is a full Armyworm newsletter that you can subscribe to let you know what the numbers are doing in your area.
So you almost be able to track them coming down from north, I guess, too, as that gets updated.
Yeah, there is a lot of data out there on how it moves through Australia and what times it's moving. So definitely something that you can look into.
And you mentioned that subscribe to the newsletter. You're actually halfway through or just about finished writing a bit of a fact sheet for us that we're going to post up online as well. So that'll be a good thing that we can keep in the phone and check out if we need to in the paddock.
Yeah.
Any preventative methods that we can do to control these outbreaks, or is it just something that we've got to monitor and then act on once we do see it?
It's mainly something that you have to monitor, but with these moths, they lay their eggs in, I call it trash, your dead material in your paddock. So if you can, and I know a lot of people are trying to move to no-till, but trying to incorporate that trash into your paddock beforehand if you are sowing a crop in there, because I've found them recently in leftover stubble from a previous cereal crop, and during the day they actually hide down the stubble.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's pretty much providing a habitat for them, I guess, and yeah, it's an attractant to the moth to lay their eggs there in the first place.
Anything else before we get on to our last question on either the common armyworm or the fall armyworm?
I think that's it for the minute, but pretty much if you think something's going on in your paddock, have a closer look, and then if you need help identifying whether it's worth spraying or not, then reach out to your local agronomist to help you identify those thresholds.
Yep, and I think you mentioned it early on, just don't wait either. So if you suspect something, make the phone call straight away and get on top of it early. Now, last question, our signature question is, what is something you've learnt recently that surprised you, Olivia?
This is a little bit of a whirlwind of a question.
Right, I'm ready for it.
But I think it's kind of an ever-evolving one as well, but managing and meeting expectations, both in the real world and the work life as well. Just making sure that you and your client, or even people outside of that, are on the same page of what you expect of each other. I often hold very high expectations for myself, and I always expect people to come along and meet me there. So pretty much making sure that what you're thinking is the same as the other person, and that you both understand what you're trying to get out of something.
Yeah, and how do you do that? Is it a communication thing or?
Yeah, definitely communication. I think, making sure that you're both on the same page and that you don't leave room for miscommunication.
No, that's good. Well, Olivia, you've exceeded my expectations today, and as a Year 9 student, you're always very entrepreneurial and always knew you were doing something pretty impressive when you left school, and so now you're here at, what did you say, 26 years old?
Yeah.
Yep, running the agronomy team at Elders Bairnsdale. So thanks for your time and your information, and I'm sure listeners will give you a call if need to on armyworm or common worm or any other agronomic issues they might have. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you.
A big thank you for tuning in today. And remember, if you have a question about today's episode or a topic you'd like us to cover, reach out to one of our many platforms and join the conversation. We're here because of your passion and commitment to agriculture. Together, we can build a stronger farming future.
This podcast is made possible by the Future Drought Fund Regional Drought Resilience Planning Program, co-funded by the Victorian and Australian governments.